Jambo, Jambo Africa, Jina langu ni Mwafrika wa Mokati, and welcome to Digging the Fluidity of Language, a collaboration between dance and poetry. It is indeed exciting. We have seen poetry, collaborating with music. We have been all, you know, the two art forms, complementing one another so beautifully. We have seen it in the past couple of years, poetry coming together with visuals, and the backdrop thing, it used to be a thing, but tonight we are seeing poetry come together with dance. How many times have you heard that poetry in motion, poetry in motion? And definitely tonight we'll be putting words to some of those phrases, and it is happening because of three amazing poets that I'm looking forward to also immerse myself in this collaboration. We have the one and only, when you speak of Natalia Molebatsi, you were talking, I mean, one can never speak of the South African poetry milieu and not mention Natalia Molebatsi, South African uh, feminist writer, a poet, a cultural worker. Her work has traveled so many borders, and tonight we'll be seeing the collaboration piece that they put together with her poetry. And another poet featured tonight is Sibongile. Oh yeah, another powerhouse that it has been lovely to see exploring, her writing skills, and also collaborating with some of the dance movement that we'll be seeing today. She has some of the amazing accolades within the literary space, and like the 2016 short story Day Africa winner. And another poet that I'm also looking forward to hear their work is Menzi. Menzi, somehow reading his bio, it reflected to me that it took him a while to believe in the words that he carried. And I would love to believe that him being on the Poetry Africa stage, he has really shook off, like when you are not sure, and the people around you are not saying that, you know what, you are on the right path. But yeah, there are some spaces where they can affirm and reaffirm, if you like. And all of this, it was put together by one amazing choreographer. I don't want to say that. Let me say that South Africa is sleeping on him. Let me just put it like that, because of he has been doing the work. He is just amazing. Uh, yeah, choreographer extraordinaire, Musa Hlatshwayo. He holds a BA honors in performance from the University of KwaZulu Natal. He's a choreographer, and he holds also a diploma in choreography from Copenhagen School of Modern Dance from Denmark, a postgraduate certificate in dance in education from the UKZN, and BA in media and communication also from UKZN. It is exciting, to immerse myself with the two art forms that speaks volumes in their own capacity, but then they come together tonight, for us to immerse ourselves. Dance and poetry has been going on for a while in other countries. You find the likes of America that have been having a dancing poetry festival for the longest time. It's 10 years going. But in South Africa, we are ready to immerse ourselves, because I know once this starts, we'll never look back. So this night is made possible by the French Institute in South Africa and Total, and of course is on the platform of Poetry Africa, which is housed at the University of KwaZulu Natal, Sibonga kakhulu. And this is the 24th can you imagine, edition of this amazing. It's one of the biggest poetry festival in the African continent. So we are really humbled to be in this space. Well, let me not talk too much because of I can. Uh, let's look at this beautiful collaborative pieces, and as we are immersing ourselves in it, let's share quote a line, How are you feeling about this? Maybe even pose a question, because there'll be a discussion about the art piece that you're about to see. Pumolo, over to you.
And the poet reflected, read, wrote, cried, slept, worried, played, prayed, opened up, and sang. Felt hollow, felt blue, lost, and found new ways, new questions, new fires. And the poet hungered, literally and in many other worlds. The poet danced and danced. In and out of this body, the poet danced and danced. In and out of this body, held on, the poet did. Held on to the memory of things, the spirit of things, the politic of things. Longed for the people's voices, for the simple yet yearned for feeling of touch. And the poet feared for the children, those with already too little and missed education, and the teacher who was an empty classroom. And the poet became a wasteland of unsaid selves. And the poet poured themselves into surrender, because everything is everything and not. And the poet becomes an open heart of wonder, where change and healing are direction. And the poet is the people, and the people are the earth, the sky, and all the life force that our ancestors danced and died for. Ga ke na tšhelete goba wona motoro, ga ke na motse wa mabaibai, fela ke na le wena. Andinayo into yokuthenga okanye imoto, kodwa ndinawe. Ga ke na tsela, tsebo yona ga ke tsebe, fela ke tseba wena seikokotlelo sa ditšhiwana. Ga ke na bomakgonthe goba bokgoni, fela ke na le wena, wena seikokotlelo sa ditšhiwana. E re lefase le hlaba ka meutlwa ya mahlabi-hlabi, nna ke tsoše wena wa mathomo-thomo le mafelelo. Wena wa go thomiša tema le kgono mešomo ya gago e go eteletše pele. Ke sena mangwe, ke sena mangwe, fela ke na le wena seikokotlelo sa ditšhiwana. Ke sena mangwe, ke sena mangwe, fela ke na le wena bjale, ke na le wena bjalo, ke na le wena bjale, ke na le wena bjale. Wena seikokotlelo sa ditšhiwana, wena seikokotlelo sa ditšhiwana. Ke sena mangwe, fela ke na le wena. You open the doors, you open the doors, you open, you open, you open, you open the doors. You are a song singing in the deepest voice of my people. A lullaby cusping tears, an amandla song to every child of the storm. Someone said that you are the wind beneath the broken wing of my people, Another one said that women like you are the mending season of our aching. Women like you give and give and give their last breath to ignite fires called revolution. Even when they force-fed you the rules of silence. You fought for your story to be told in the season of your voice, and inside you reside the melodies of our people. You, with an uncontainable wail that grew louder and larger than the tight grip of oppression. With words that forced open the doors of a world that will never be ready for our kind. It's time now for moon to night you with your secret conversations and moments of endearment. The same moon that will welcome you on an orbit of black magic woman wonderment. You who will let the world know you love her more than she loves you. How do I thank you for your pain, your banned and jailed and unacknowledged dreams? Your dreams are gifts to my bag of memory, through which I will craft songs for tomorrow's healing, 'cause you opened the doors of a world that will never be ready for our kind. You open the doors of a world that will never be ready for our kind. You open the doors. You open the doors. You open the door.
Kuwe osungaphesheya ngothukela siyakuhalalisela. Kwathina kasihlezi kule ndawo bheka siyakulandela. Ungaboni ngoba nakhu umkhonto sewabhajwa enxebeni sezilima ziya etsheni. Empeleni ntombi nami bengike ngathanda phambilini. Ngashawa ukungabi naso isibindi. Kungaqali sengishayeka isibili. Kungalenkathi othembisile ededa kimi. Engishiya dengwane enhle. Ethi amabhubesi ngami awaqede. Ngizamile kepha izinhlungu zangigolozela. Zala zaphetha ukumuka nothukela. Bheka ngoba kuba bengisho sengiphuma ushukela. Amandla ehla lapho sekukhuphukela. Ngiqoke ukuhlala phansi. Ngaqaphela isithelo esifayo. Ngaqonda ubumqoka bamanzi. Hleze ukube amaqaphelo ayekhona. Isibungu naso sasiyokwazi ukubona elihle nelibi ikhiwane. Ngibonga ukungakhi umuzi phezu kwamaphutha ami. anakho ukuletha uqhekeko. Kungekho nampihlakalo etheni ethubuswe lapha kimi. Nami ngilala ngingazi ngeluse umoya. Ngingazi wobe uhelezela kuluphi uhlangothi uma kusa. Nakhu sekwabonwa ngokusa. Mina sengiyayenga neliswe ukuphefumula kabusha. Xola nhliziyo. Kubo engekho ofisa ukulinda, bezwi linye bethi ingoma emnandi iyaphindwa. Mina sengenama ngibuye ngameno nginqinde ngigodle imizwa. Impilo lena isingifundise ukufinqa. Ngumva nje sengithanda bukamama, ngithanda kabi ngokwesaba. Uchuku imali ixabanisa abantu bezwana. Abayaziyo bathi yinto yokuhleka. Sibumbe imilomo kasithandi hleze elomhlathi livele sesisemgodini. Ephuzwini lokulimala ngokuphindiwe nokwengeziwe, abanikazi bevalela izinhliziyo zabo ezindlini, bencame kube isidumbu esiphumayo sithungathe uthando. Belibala ukuthi uma amathambo ehodwa kawasiwo umlando, umoya nenyama esigcawini sombango. Uthathe kube lukhuni ukuthola ubumnene benhliziyo uma umnikazi ezokubuka ngamehlo ezidingo zakhe. Into ngezidingo ukuthi ziyafezeka. Kanti kuvamile ukuthi singabe sisaba khona isidingo sokuhlala uma sezifezekile. Ekhuluma naye enganakile. Athi livuthwa kudala idodwe uma umpheki ezolokhu eligqolozelile. Uthando luthe unganakile, luzenzakalela engekho ohlelile. Nami ngilokhu nginyusa inhliziyo ngithi, awukwazi ukukhosela okhohleni oseluwile, awube usagobeka osewomile. Uthanda izinto ezenziwa uthando, omunye eqhutshwa ukuthanda izinto ezenzelwa uthando. Ukufa kusikhumbuza ukuthi thina kasiphili ngokukhohlwa. Ebuka impilo ekhumbula izifo izolo ukhulu luzala umlotha. Khuluma kubantu ndoda, ukulonda izinto ngaphakathi kuyabulala. Isilonda siphola masinya uma sithola umoya. Okwami sekwaba ngokwezandla. Mina nje sengathanda bukamama, ngathanda kabi ngokwesaba. Uchuku imali ixabanisa abantu bezwana.
The river remembers. The river slowly swallows the softness of time and carries it home to the big, big ocean. The woman is the river, running in and out of oceans of love into lands of acceptance and rejection. The woman is human first and woman after. The man pulls the woman into a puddle for his amusement, at times an oasis to quench his never-ending thirst for power. The woman tirelessly kneads the dough of life, her existence baked under harsh suns and ungrateful men. She multiplies her forgiveness to break the cloud, to survive on the bread of life another day. The woman is human first and woman after, but the man is man first and human after. The river swiftly sweeps past solid rocks and bends the belly of sharp grass. The river grows a body and shapes itself a new world, quickly cutting past the thickness of male gaze. The river remembers. There is more to being a river, to quenching a nation, to quelling your anger by stilling your waters. You gotta run, 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 be a wave today and a drop of rain tomorrow. Roar from the belly of your rage, dance with the moon. It is your right. Grow things, destroy things, let the sun have its fun, then run, run, run and heal things. Come crashing on minds that hunger and swallow them whole. Heal yourself, reclaim your land. You are a body of complexities, a science of creation, creating creative creators and conquering conquests over your crucial existence. Run, run, run. Embrace your essence. Break into a stream and flow in the direction of your dreams. Puddle at the altar of your power and drink up. Run, run, run. Collapse into a waterfall of perfectly flawed and purposely adorned wonder. Rest, if you must, in a lake of splendor and soak up broody Mother Nature to be lifted and dropped, born a river again. The river falls into the ocean and passes through its heart. The woman is the river, unlearning the bend and learning the flow. My mother is from a place where the desert and the mine meet. Every drop of water is a bleeding sigh from mercury, and when buckets are full or heads are done, the tap gets on her last nerve. Her chapped lips would move in restriction, and we would watch, my brother and I, as she peels off her ugly and hands it down to us, a war token for things unspoken. One of us is dying, the other one thirsty to love her, but we can't fill his shoes, symbolic of his absence. I doubt she wants us to. So we pull her back to motherhood. This little girl with an absent father and an absent lover. The men in her life are like the water from her hometown, always there but never quite available. The first glass leaves a taste in your mouth. It takes days, months, even years to get accustomed to the flavor, to his absence. In a place named Valcom by a man who claims he found it empty. My great-grandmother is rotting into the finest gold, and my mother would clear her eyes to water my grandmother's soul just so that something grows, something that we can own. Gold Fields has water that stings like slavery, and my tongue is one with Joburg City. Small town ramblings in Tabong, we argue in Sesotho, but here at home I calm down in English. The tap keeps dripping. She complains about the bill. I call the plumber. A Bible flaps open and a bird loses its wings. She is preparing for the mountain. Her longings are buried deep in the mysteries of him leaving. She thinks it's witchcraft. It must be for a man to walk out on his family, the voodoo of his feet, chasing his dreams without her, without us. The cup is almost full, but our hearts are empty. I wish we were at the coast with the ocean at our feet, but we are inland and hurting. All she ever does is pray to Saint Engenas. All I ever do is pray that love pardons us. We're both kneeling with our heads to the ground and our backs against the sky. I am 6 foot deep into her pain, a grave, and old. I am growing old. Still waters pool at the back of our throats. We wade through the words to survive the silence. We turn over with our legs spread wide, hers for his absence and mine for him, my lover. With a river cool aura, the kind that says I'll stay if you come with. I break open a cloud and multiply the peace. A stream is born and on its way home it rains, pours, comes gushing, flooding everything. She smiles. I survive the drowning, so does she. The plumber fixes the tap. She licks her lips, and I drink from the fountain of her youth. She is a cold stove love of a worn-out youth. I offer her a sip from my juice.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to invite our beautiful audience online to stay with us for another few moments to join us in the most beautiful conversation that we're going to have with the artists that have been involved in tonight's program. I feel incredibly humbled to be with my brothers and sisters of my country tonight to share this extraordinary work and this extraordinary moment of celebration on Poetry Africa tonight. My name is Leanne Lewis. I'm the artistic director of the Jomba Dance Festival. So I come into this discussion really as a dancer and a choreographer, as someone who absolutely adores the concept of the spoken word. And for me, I thought I would begin tonight just to say a little bit about this idea of the concept of the choreopoem. It's a concept that started in America in the 1970s. And it sort of came out of, in a way, the civil rights movement, and a young writer, a dancer actually called Paulette Williams, in the 1970s, started to write poems that she started to present at bars in California and later on in New York. And these poems eventually evolved into what is now one of the most famous and only second play by a Black woman that ever made it to Broadway in the 1970s. A woman called Paulette Williams, who changed her name to Ntozake Shanga, and the poem was called, of course, For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. And she was the one who gave the term a choreopoem. It is this confluence of jazz, of the body, of the voice, and a very political use of physicality and the voice. And of course, South Africa has its own history of the choreopoem. If I think about Lebo Moshile's collaboration with Sylvia Glaser in a work called Threads, I was very moved that Lebo spoke a little bit of that poetry at the opening of our festival this year. And the work that Flatfoot's done with Ian Ewok Robinson. There's been a long history of dancers and poets. And I'm delighted tonight to be sharing this platform with a choreographer and a friend who I have a deep admiration and love for, and that's Musa Hlatshwayo from Maisa Productions. Musa, I wanted to start with you because although, of course, it is Poetry Africa, you are a body poet. And I wanted to ask how it was for you as a poet of the body to work with these incredible three artists and to make the work.
Thank you, Leanne. Good evening to everyone that's watching across the world, really, in the various platforms. And thank you to the CCA and Poetry Africa for hosting this beautiful session. It was an interesting challenge, I have to say, because obviously, number one, we are working through difficult times where, as you can see, I'm in my space, you are in your different space, and we are all learning how to connect and communicate with each other through our computer screens. but also at the same time, as somebody that works with energies and mostly senses, that idea of not being able to connect with the poets, to better understand their work, to feel them, to touch them, to hug them even, kind of did create a barrier. But obviously, one needs to then start learning how to forge ahead and look for other creative ways of really channeling the thoughts, the ideas into concepts. As you would know, whenever I create a work, one of the things that really has to happen for me is I really need to dream the piece for it to start coming together. So it was an interesting challenge. I do acknowledge the fact that COVID-19 and the lockdown has created barriers, but I do believe that we were successful in bridging those barriers. And also the fact that, you know, when I went into this, I was very clear about how I didn't want to repeat the way that I work and or the formulas that we would come with into each of the works. It was a very clear intention for me for each of these works to be very distinct in the process and also in the product that we will create.
And also, I was amazed to see that also you approached each three works differently. And maybe you could speak about just your sense of going at the three works differently.
Yes, I mean, look, I think one of the things that I'm always fascinated about is the meeting of the various art forms that I cannot just credit to have learned or accessed through my Western education. It is the meeting of these art forms that I have always been around, you know, from my grandmother's hut, learning how to dance around the fire, to working with my mother in the late hours of the night while she was sewing aprons, or being with my father while he was building all the schools that I had the honor of going to, except for tertiary education. And so learning how they each kind of contributed towards the education that I now have and the creativity that I now celebrate. I've always therefore been clear in not limiting myself to formulating one strict and narrow method of working, but really just opening myself to what else is out there, what else is there in my past, you know, as a young boy, and also what else I can learn from the people that I interact with. And so obviously the poets all brought their different voices in the way that they present themselves, in the way that they present their work. And it was very clear for me from the start how each one of them kind of tap into the elements, which is also one of the things that I work with. You know, when you listen to Menzi, it's almost like he's throwing amakabate, you know. So I start imagining you know, all these rocks that are falling, but gently. And in the same way as when you look at Sibongile and how her body of work really revolves around water, and how Natalia is able to move from the wind to the water to the fire, etc., etc. So all of those for me kind of influenced these ideas that I needed to be honest about in terms of approaching them, and also without necessarily copying a formula and applying it across them as though, you know, we're just kind of using a cookie cutting machine. And also the fact that, you know, it's an experiment. You know, it's the first time that we do this, and I commend the Center for Creative Arts for that. And I personally believe that the advancement of our creativity and our creative imagination lies in us exploring, experimenting, collaborating, and asking the what if. We acknowledge and respect that which has been done and created before, but what if? What if I were to try this? What if it wasn't like this? What happens when I try this and that and that? And for me, the blessing of knowing that in creativity, there is no wrong answer, therefore always helps me to come up with the kind of work as we have presented today.
Thank you so much, Musa. I want to turn to Natalia. I mean, you know, I'm a huge fan of your work, and what I've always loved about your work is that you know, even if you read it on the page, I see you performing it, because you are really a performance poet. And I'm interested how you, as a performer yourself, and not just a wordsmith, found this collaboration.
Wow, thanks, Dr. Lutz. Coming from you, that means a lot. Thank you. This was indeed, as Musa said it, it was an experiment. It was a beautiful challenge because we didn't know what was going to come out of it. So what one visualized or what one thought, so it was a moment of surrender. And surrender is beautiful at the end of the day because of COVID, we also know that there are certain things that we're not in control of. And you realize that, oh, we are able to actually do things. So almost like it's a metaphor. So coming to this as well, there is a project that we are all in different spaces and we're able to kind of put this together. And also just coming to the aesthetic of it, it's dance / performance art, you know, so it's a full picture, you know, so the body as an object of art, the voice as a subject of art. So just that interaction, that kind of, you know, galvanizes, you know, a moment of change, a possibility, and just kind of that there is a sense of, as you know, when I'm looking at it as a spectator or as a co-performer, I'm wondering what interpretation artists and audiences are seeing, because there is meaning there, as the woman is drowning, as the woman is trying to come out of the water, and the voice is trying to get her out of the water, as we're drawing on the floor, trying, you know, as we're pulling out of fabric. And I like how you started with, you know, talking about how Lebo's collaboration with Threads, that really was an inspirational moment. So, and it also helps us, it's a reference point, you know, it helps us, and it's going to be for a very long time because it was done so brilliantly. So when the CCA came up with this idea, I was like, yay. You know, we've seen this, right, in our context, in a South African context, in a, you know, Jomba context. But also what I liked about it is that there was a bigger connection between, you know, different sections of what the CCA does, what the UKZN does, the different festivals that happen at the, you know, it's a performance art space. So there were elements of Jomba in Poetry Africa and vice versa, right? And I really enjoyed, you know, that cross, because this is performance art. These spaces, you know, overlap, you know? So just looking at the project together, I lastly just want to congratulate my colleagues, the poets, their voices. You know, your voices mean so much in terms of us just wrestling with our concerns, but also our joy, our realities, our experiences, our pasts, our futures. And Musa also just using his body, and his body in terms of his company, because he's carving his vision into the people he works with, the dancers, and just creating so much more beyond dance. Because when we think of dance, we are thinking of an artist just dancing to rhythm, but this created something so much more, just a body oozing meaning, social meaning, right? Political meaning, cultural, ancestral meaning. And just using all those elements from the earth. So congratulations again, Musa. And I hope this is just the beginning. I hope that we can all be inspired by this experience and continue this work.
Thank you so much, Natalia, and thank you for your beautiful work and sharing it with us. Really appreciate it. I'm going to go to Menzi, because also for me, what's interesting is, Musa as a choreographer has always, as I've followed his career, one of the things that he's always been so profound about is looking very critically at his own masculinity and at concepts around how society constructs Black masculinities. And his work has always been about vulnerability, humanity, Ubuntu, just things that are, for me, incredibly profound and challenge me and move me. And I felt that there was that voice in Menzi, in your poetry as well. And I thought it was an incredibly beautiful meeting. And Menzi, I'd like to know how you found that collaboration.
Thank you for the time. And hi to everyone who's with us. I think I need to be very honest. I was very nervous at the beginning of this. I didn't know the outcome, but I'm so happy right now that the final product was beautiful. Working with Musa, for me, it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but it was very clear in terms of what he was looking for, and I was clear as well in terms of this is what I think might work for us and whatnot. So there was a lot of transparency between the two of us, and not only the two of us, but between me and his team as well. So it was very beautiful. I think when we started talking, there were poems that we thought we were going to use, and then I sent him the video because he said he just wanted to hear my voice. But the video that I sent to Musa, it contained different poems from the one that I have written to him. So he said, okay, change of heart now. The poems on the video are the ones we are going to be using, because already at that time, he had a lot of ideas in regard to those poems. So he broke it down to me, and I was so happy. And it was reinforcing the fact that us as poets or us as writers, we might think that perhaps this is the message that we are conveying to the audience, but it's not always the case, because how the audience receive the message or perceive the message, it might be different from the one that you were trying to initiate or you were trying to display. So for me, it was beautiful. It was very beautiful. It's just that I was nervous because for me personally, this was the first time attempting something like this. But when I saw the final product, I was so relieved. I was so happy. I would love to try it again. I would really love to try it again. But this time we will have to be in one space just to feel each other's energy. I would really love to try it again.
And in many ways, Menzi, when I'm hearing you speak, I think that, we've kind of moved one beyond the choreopoem. We're sort of doing choreopoem films, and to be able to do this under lockdown is just extraordinary for me. The way in which COVID has forced artists to be creative is just beyond recognition, and I really acknowledge and salute you all. I'd like to turn to Sibongile, and I was just, I kind of, I made reference to Ntozake Shanga's play, for colored girls, and there's a beautiful line in the play. It's right at the beginning where she says, "Sing a black girl's song, let her be born." And I thought, if she could watch what you'd done today, I think that she would have seen that young black girl being born. And it felt so profoundly beautiful to me with the water and with your own voice. And I wanted to know how you experienced it.
I would love to take credit. I really would, but it's honestly all Musa. I think Natalia touched on this around surrendering. So the poem, The Language of Sacrifice, The Memory of Water, first appears actually on the Hear My Voice site on the project that we did, Azania to DC. So it was quite a difficult one for me to let go because I had done a video before of it and I had this visual of it in my head. So it was quite difficult to surrender and just allow Musa to just do his magic, you know. And I think after watching, I think Musa knows how excited I was after he sent me the final product, and I watched it, and it just reminds me of, I'll borrow from Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon, where she says, if you could ride, if you could surrender to the air, you could ride it. And honestly, like, that's just how I feel right now. So I just want to first, before I even get into the experience, thank Musa and his team for all the work that they really put in and for just pushing me, because I think it's really like like I honestly owe you all the glory. So like, thank you so much for your patience and for like just your vision and just like carrying it out. And I think, and thank you to Poetry Africa for having me, for having us, to Poetry Africa sponsors as well, to Hear My Voice, as always. You guys, you know, you do the most. You're the mostest. So love, 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 much love. I think for me, it was quite an interesting one because I haven't been performing in a while, so I haven't been collaborating in a while. And writing is such a lonely exercise. Like, it thrives in your solitude. So you write alone. It works best when you do things on your own. So to have someone else carry out your vision and have to communicate and learn how to communicate. Like Musa said, I also work with energies, you know, so sometimes like it's quite difficult to read tone, like in terms of messages and things like that. I'm more like, when we're in the same space and we're collaborating, I need to see how you do things. You need to read off of me. I need to read off of you. So it was quite a challenge for me in that. And then obviously also the time frame that we had wasn't like the most ideal, but I mean, it's like, I don't know, it was like we were put in a pressure cook, and like what Musa came out of, like, I've just been excited all week. So for everyone to see what we've seen, and then to just see how he also interpreted everyone else's work as well, it's just like, yeah, it's just been so beautiful. Because like, I think I said it in one of the meetings that we were having, and I said that I'm so interested in the fluidity of language and in how in one thing can be interpreted in so many different ways, which is what draws me to water as well, because water can take so many different forms and can mean so many different things to so many different people. And water represents, it's both the elixir and the poison, basically, because water can heal you and it can kill you. So for me, it was such an amazing experience to see how one poem, especially that one specific poem, which is a template of the body of work I'm currently working on, how it can be interpreted and relive and live in so many different ways. And for that, I think I'm quite humbled. And I just want to say to Musa, like, thank you for being so patient with me. And really, I have trust issues, so it took a while for me to trust, but like in the end I did, and the fruits of it were like, are just, wow, they're just so amazing. So really, thank you, and thank you to the team as well, and everyone's work, like, it's just so amazing. As Natalia knows, I've been a fan of hers since I was a teen. She's just, yeah. And Menzi, to also experience your work has just been so amazing. So yeah, thank you to everyone.
Thanks, Sibongile. I mean, I'm interested that all of you, you know, like Menzi spoke about being nervous, and Natalia and Sibongile spoke about this concept of surrender. And I know as artists, that's what it is. It's, you know, I know Musa always speaks about dreams and visions, and I know his work comes out of dreams and visions, and that's also a surrender to ancestral, godlike processes that happen through us. And that is the artistic spirit. And I have to say that, you know, on the down days of COVID, I'm just so grateful for poets, for choreographers, for artists, for writers, for filmmakers, because we are the conscience of the nation, but we're also the healing of the nation. And tonight I feel like my spirit has been lifted in the most extraordinary way. And I just wanted to thank you all very much, and thank everyone for watching and for tuning into Poetry Africa tonight. And I'd like to hand over to Mo Africa.
Oh, it has been so filling. And I think you've just wrapped it up for me, Prof. Lutz. Like, like one of the scuff teams that I'm taking is that we are all creative beings who are scared to surrender. It's not an easy thing. And Menzi writes this in his bio, right? That it took him a long time to actually believe in his work and his voice. And this is for everyone, Menzi. This is for all of us. Even the best of the world, it is just that daunting, to release the work. So I guess I'm passing on this to you as well, Sibongile, that we are all in the boat together. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that is the beauty of it, because of we are sharing a part of ourselves with the world. And it's never easy, being vulnerable. And I'm also glad that you've touched on how, masculinity, and I think Musa did that beautifully, to 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 dance out the vulnerability of masculinity, if that makes sense. And he did that. He did that. I was like chatting with chatting in the background, like, yo, how sensual is this? A can, a water can is like, oh my God, the meaning behind this. And the mattress dancer, I was like, oh my God, it was just so beautiful. And we picked that up, Musa. It's so beautiful to watch. The poetry has been lovely. And yeah, I'm just want to say thank you so much for putting it together. Thank you to Natalia Molebatsi, thank you to Menzi, Sibiya, Sibongile Fisher, and also, for bringing it to life, Prof. It is beautiful, and I'm looking forward to all those articles your students will be writing about. I'm just waiting, just let's slide in the DMs. Let's do that. We want to hear all about it. I'm cheering. I don't know why. Okay. So that's when we know that this is life, right? When you just have to take a moment to wipe your tears because of it's just so beautiful and all emotional at once. But it has been lovely to watch. And thank you so much for the comments. And I guess when one is trained at within a particular genre, we express ourselves more. Someone in the comments was saying that this could have been a traditional perspective form of dance. Well, we take that, and as we are exploring, we will bring that on board. We are all exploring, but it is this start that Musa brought this to life so beautifully. Thank you so much to Total, the French Institute in South Africa. We appreciate the work that you're doing, and we see you. And it's not the first time, they have made possible for poetry and dance to come to life. And I guess Professor Lutz is right to say it's not only poetry and dance, but now we are adding film into the mix. So next time we will have, a filmmaker who contributed intentionally to the process. And it will also be lovely to hear their point of view. We can talk and talk and talk, but tomorrow is the last day of Poetry Africa. All the slam competitions announcements will be coming through. The open mic announcement will be coming through. The school competitions announcement, like tomorrow, it will be just a lovely day, Jay, of winners. So you don't want to miss out. I love to say that it will be level ground when the school poets are coming through, the open mics are coming through, and the slam competition, which has always been lovely to watch, to hear some of the amazing, brilliant voices. And it was made possible to even stretch further because of Uncle Coco. We had just so many voices that came through because of everything was happening visually. But you don't want to miss out. If you have missed any of the sessions, worry not, because of the Poetry Africa will be prolonged. Everything will stay for a while online, so you can revisit. You can share with your friends. Let's make the circle bigger, right? See you tomorrow night as we are wrapping it up. Poetry Africa, #Poetry Africa 2020. Good night. Bye-bye.